Welcome to the show. Integrity is a big, big word. Now, I think many people, they probably think that they understand what integrity is, but when we break that definition down, we're really looking at something else. By definition, integrity is an internal system of principles that guides your behavior. An internal system of principles that guide your behavior. Celebrity psychologist Charissa Bloomberg and I are quite familiar with each other, Charissa. We've been doing some work on integrity some while ago, and you are the integrity fundi and guru. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Faisal, and thank you for having me, and thank you for always supporting me there throughout all these years. I appreciate it.
An absolute pleasure. Charissa, we in a very strange time, we discussing a global pandemic, and with all of that, we see complete changes in human behavior. What we knew the world to be before all of this and what we know the world to be now is absolutely different. And what we know the world to be in the future might be even more different than what we know that today. But with that, we understand that change is not something that comes great to human beings. We resist change on various levels en masse. And through that, we put in various defense mechanisms to help us cope with all of that. So sometimes we just kick back against the wall. But even in that, we could have a lapse in integrity, which we might deem as survival. But while we are trying to survive, how do we maintain integrity? Because just before we started, you said you're angry about another thing, and I'm happy that the psychologist is telling me that she's angry for once.
Thank you. You did right. So far, there's so many things. I love it that you use the word integrity lapse, because once there's a lapse, we can't really come back from that. So I think let's just talk about the 5 stages of loss, because we are all, everywhere, universally and globally, in some stage of this loss. And I think it's important that we recognize it and know, because exactly as you've said, our lives are never going to be the same again. What was before will never be the same, and we need to prepare for it. So the 5 stages of loss from Kubler-Ross is the first, denial, and I think we've all passed that. Oh, I can't believe this is happening. It's not possible. It's not true. We won't get into lockdown. Never. We passed that. Maybe for some people not. Okay. Then there is the bargaining. If this, then that. If I say my prayers, if I wear a mask, if I do this, if I do that, we try to rationalize it. And when that's not helping, Faisal, we get into the anger stage. Now, this is a stage that is dangerous. That anger, I can't believe my freedom's been taken. I can't believe so many people are dying. I can't believe that there's poverty. We're in that anger stage, which can be quite destructive unless we use it carefully. Then we can get into the depression stage. Oh, I'm being locked in 40 days. I'm so depressed. I've got no work. I don't know where my future is. I'm depressed. And then we come to the point of acceptance. I don't know who's there yet, but very few of us. And you can move, Faisal, you can move up and down those stages. I can go from anger to maybe depression.
And then you can skip phases too, and some people might start at another phase again, but these are just the...
Yes, and exactly as I can see, because I've told the world 86-year-old mom staying here, and so you can get into the time where she's now depressed. She's 86, she's hyperactive, she's depressed, I'm angry. That is a cocktail for disaster.
And I know your mom's very active, by the way. I've been watching her doing all those funny exercises and things. So obviously for someone like her, and especially with an elderly person, this must be a completely catastrophic situation for them.
Exactly, and not to be mobile, not to be active. So she's frustrated, I'm angry, I keep her quiet, she must keep quiet. So that's my situation. But what's happening to other people? We've spoken a lot about relationships, also that frustration. So here's the thing, why are we talking all about that? We have integrity lapses. We scream, we shout, we say things that we shouldn't, we do things that we shouldn't, and we can never take it back. So there's a breakdown in that, and there's a breakdown of those children as well, screaming, shouting at them, the people who are parenting, trying to work, losing their job, not putting food on table. We lose the integrity. And if we look at it, Faisal, you and I know that integrity is about doing the right thing, about saying the right thing.
When nobody's looking. When nobody's looking.
Yes, and when everybody's looking. So I know you want to explore that, but that's huge. And it's about saying what you're going to do. It's about transparency. And if we look at this globally, Transparency, integrity, what's going on? I don't know where you want to start because there's so much to explore.
Of course, Sharissa, we find ourselves in a situation where people are being tested and their patients are being tested. And when your patients start getting tested, that's when your integrity could come into the spotlight too, because that's the time that the bark might just snap. And so let's just take this on a very practical level. Let's look at South Africa today. If I take my car out this afternoon and I just take a drive down the road, I'm going to find, as I'm driving down the road, there's a queue at all the shopping malls, there's a queue outside, certain stores are closed, some people are not smoking, some people are not drinking. So those are all these vices that can imbalance and create societal pressures and that type of thing amidst South Africans. But queues, hearing that certain supplies might not be available in the future, imports and exports are on the down, so supplies is up and down, and with that people are going to say, do I hoard, do I skip queues, am I also sticking by the simple regulations of the lockdown in terms of what if I have this mentality that I'm not hygienic and I don't care at all, and I go out there and infect somebody else, for example. So how do we plug integrity into that? Is integrity not under serious pressure right now?
Well said, Faisal. It is under tremendous amount of pressure, and it's been broken on all levels, from our government all the way down to us. So yes, we are getting frustrated. We go to the queues. They're not selling underwear, and that goes all over social media. So send your child to school without any underwear, but keep her healthy. You know, these things, the crazy things that are happening. Arrest a woman in Muizenberg because a 21-year-old child broke free and ran onto the beach. So arrest her. You know, the crazy things that are happening on all levels. We are losing our integrity, and what I've said and put a post out. The nation is frustrated, Faisal. The nation is angry on every level, whether it's a small little thing or on a huge scale. We are angry, and people are waking up to realize, yeah, we are not doing the right thing for ourselves, but is the country also doing the right thing for us? And yeah, there's so many layers, Faisal. They are just, yeah.
Of course.
And people, it's also brought out sorry, I'm carrying on. People have brought out the ugliness, you know, the naming and the shaming, and arrest the woman who walked a dog. That poor little woman just broke free because she rebelled. She had an integrity like, she's like, my dog's driving me mad. I'm going out to hang with everything. People are just so, like, they're ready to explode. So, yeah, we're breaking integrity and we are being self-centered.
I don't know if you recall in the past, I spoke to you in one of our previous episodes, and we spoke about how South Africans generally are slightly highly strung. So if you go around the world, you'll see different temperaments, but we are ready to, at every robot, to jump out of the car and fight with everybody that just crossed our path a little bit. So we were already there in temperament.
Yes.
Now we just taken it up a bit. But through all of that, it's a global phenomenon, should I say. It's a global pandemic.
Yes.
What's your advice to people? Where do we start? What are the basics while your integrity is under pressure to try and keep yourself in check? Because if you don't keep yourself in check, we could have social psychology plugging into an integrity lapse. So we will have a domino effect where people are going to say, well, he's doing it, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it, and we create this entire domino effect of bad behavior.
Yes, and complete dissonance. Absolutely. So it's very scary. I think that we've all been self-centered, and it's all been about us, me, myself, I. And we're not actually realizing that what we're doing is affecting everybody else. And every single choice that we make has an impact on somebody else. So for me, I just think it's a time to look at compassion. It's a time to look at our neighbor. And it's a time to realize everything we're doing could hurt somebody else when we're going out there, when we're stockpiling, when we're not wearing a mask, when we're not social distancing, when we're ready to explode, has an impact on others. Can we bring compassion back? And let's just stop and think, and let's use some emotional intelligence. It's about managing our own and other people's emotions. Let's look at that, because I don't think a lot of us is practicing that at all.
Sharissa, when we look at integrity, we know that people are generally guided by a set of core principles that plugs into their integrity. And then when we ask people about integrity and we ask people about the definition of integrity, they always seem to go to the word honesty. Can you just debunk that a little bit in terms of getting a bit more deeper into that aspect? Because sometimes I think that we don't fully understand the concept of integrity and we think it's a simple synonym of honesty.
Yeah, good question. I love it. You always ask probing questions. You know, if it takes me back to when I started exploring integrity 5 years ago, what does it mean? Everybody loves to throw the word around. They don't understand what it means. And if you throw the word honesty around as well, it's wonderful. It's all something we should aspire to. But we are not. And a person with ethics and integrity is so rare to find. And when they find it, Faisal, then their business will just explode. Their relationships will be powerful because it's so rare. And a person who has honesty and integrity, people follow them to the ends of the earth. So honesty is part of transparency. If you say you're going to do something, do something. If I say I'm going to, whatever it is, your word is powerful. And if you lie and you get caught out, there is no ways you can go back to all that credibility. It can take you months, years, if ever. But if you know someone who never lies, who is transparent, who apologizes if they're wrong, they will have a following. Why can't we do that? You know, you ask an audience, who here lies? Either they all put up their hands or none of them, because we're all guilty. But I think it's time for us to raise our integrity consciousness. It's time for us to raise the meter. It's time for us to really look at ourselves in society and as a nation. I'd love to see that happen, man. I'd love to dream about that happening.
They say that the right thing is not always the easy thing. And especially when you look at integrity, that's really a definitive space to be in. The right thing is not always the easy thing to do. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. The right thing is not always the easy thing to do. And what is the right thing to do? There's many layers upon that, but we have to do what's right for us at the time. If I give you an example, I won't mention the shop's name. Recently, before lockdown, I went there and I didn't have a lot of money at the time, and I bought an expensive cleanser because I'm on TV and I need it. And I had a whole lot of stuff and I walked out and I paid for it and I walked out. I stopped the trolley somewhere, I was scratching for something, and underneath everything was this cleanser that wasn't paid for. It went through security. Now, Faisal, here I'm thinking, and I'm walking away past. No one's come after me. I'm looking over my shoulder and here's this cleanser. Do I say, thank you, God, I couldn't really afford it anyway. Thank you I appreciate it. I support the store. It's my little gift. Or do I go back and say, you know what? This got through and I'm bringing it back and I'm coming to pay for it. I had to think hard. I had to remind myself, you want to call yourself the queen of integrity, but you're going to get away with something that costs a couple of $100 here? Anyway, I went back in and I walked in and I said, look what was underneath here. And I looked at the camera, look what I'm bringing back. And I paid for it and everyone's eyes went big and I walked out of there. Do you know, Faisal, there was no big thank you, but I felt so good. And this is what happens. And remember what Professor Tulimadin said, you grow 6 inches taller when you do the right thing. I walked out of there before face masks and I smiled at everyone. Hello, I'm a nice person. I did good. The vibe. I was like grinning because I did the right thing. Hard choice. So that's only a small example. It's a hard choice. But you feel so much better when you do it. I'm nice.
Of course, yes. And if you look at the flip side of all of this, especially within a global matter like COVID-19 that we're facing, that doing the wrong thing in this time, I don't want to break it down into what it could be, but doing the wrong thing right now can cost someone their lives. So that means if we have a lapse in integrity in this situation, we can cost the life of somebody else.
And that's what we're not realizing, that it's a lot about selfishness. We're not realizing everything we're doing has an impact on someone else. So, and there's so many things I can think about that. I have an 86-year-old mom to protect. But I wanted to have a little lapse and get the domestic in. Because it's so hard to clean and do this and write a book and do 20 exams and look after it. I'm sneaking her in and then I have to think, maybe this, maybe not, maybe it's wrong, maybe mom, maybe she brings a virus, maybe she doesn't, maybe she doesn't. I've got to do the right thing all the time, so I'm going to live in a mess rather.
No, of course.
But the choices, the small little choices we make can impact on someone's life. And we need to think about that very carefully.
I know that at times that people also confuse ethics and integrity. if we look at integrity and ethics, integrity is really the internal system, and ethics is the external system of practice, of methodology, and that sort of thing. Sharissa, if you can just elaborate a little bit on the ethics side, especially
Yes.
in this time. What should be our innate ethics, our innate external manifestations of our behavior during this time? How should we be behaving with our fellow South Africans to try and get through COVID-19, and then also perhaps to come out on the other side as better South Africans as a whole?
It's a very good question that you've asked. The ethics is sort of the rules, the code of conduct, the guiding us. This is what you need to do. You need to do the mask. You need to do this. You need to do that. But if I don't have integrity, as you said, the internal part of it, I won't listen to those guides. And it's the same as a psychologist. I'm told to do certain rules and regulations and ethics, and if I don't, then I haven't got integrity. So how do we come out on the other side? How do we do that? We think that we stop and we think we have a choice. We have a choice to do the right thing every single day. And it takes a minute to decide. I'm going to steal something, I'm not. I'm going to wear a mask, I'm not. I'm going to snitch on my neighbor, I'm not. We need to start doing some self-reflection, and that's part of EQ. And we need to also start thinking, a lot of us is also getting depressed and feeling down. Let's talk about what the right thing to do is. Let's try and help somebody else when we feel down as well. There's many ways we can use our integrity and use to do the right thing.
I want to expand our discussion just on a broader level, on a global level. I know that we have a lot of theories, and some are conspiracies, and some is the truth. We just wouldn't know right now. But what's your advice to people from a psychological perspective in that time? Because at times we are being so bombarded with so many things that not create a mental pandemic in an individual where you have all of this just going on, and that is going to drive some sinister behavior instead, because you can't seem to control your behavior because you're being bombarded, and society is bombarding the rest of society. So fake news is there, all of that is there. Are we doing anyone really a favor by pushing that amount of information around, and every last opinion that we have create a brand new story?
I love your choice of words, a mental pandemic.
I don't know, this is something I thought about right now.
I'm going to steal that. That is what's happening. Besides our confusion, where's our future? Where's our next meal coming from? Where am I going to go with this? What's going to happen? How long is lockdown for? Then we're being bombarded exactly by all these things. What's real? What's truth? What isn't? Shush, a cat. But this whole confusion to make it worse. What do we believe? And if this is a conspiracy theory and it is real, who thought up to kill so many thousands and millions of people? My head can't even go there. So my advice is, I want people to understand that fear is making our brains paralyzed. We are either all following, or we're all arguing, or we're not thinking for ourselves. And I want us to start standing up and think about things reasonably. If you are looking at conspiracy theory, check it all out. If we look at the London Real News, and I'm not even going to the conspiracy theory, it's very strange when people come out with what we think is the truth, and they get deleted off all media. And every time someone says the truth about masks and breathing it in, and that it can be unhealthy and lower your immune system, it gets deleted. That's something very strange. I want us as a society, as a nation, to stand up and start thinking for ourselves. Is this a pandemic of corruption? Think for ourselves, make our own thoughts, because there's too much confusion out there, and we must stop being paralyzed to follow like sheep.
I want to just touch on something that you started off with, and that is we're going through lots of losses, and everybody is in that situation right now. So of all the people walking the planet right now, everybody's been impacted in some way or another by COVID-19. If it's not your business, you're not at the office. If it's not only finances, then you're either sick. If you're not sick, then somebody's died or something's going on. But everybody's affected in one way or another. I cannot think of anybody that can stick their hand up and tell me, I'm not affected by this at all. Some way or another you're affected by that. What is your advice to our global citizens, noting the fact that we are all in the same situation at the same time? But I sense with some people there's a race to push someone else down so that they can get further than the other person in this time, or they would survive better. For example, hoarding. When you hoard, you trying to retain something so that you can be one step ahead of everybody else. Now, we are all in it together. I'm looking for some advice, knowing that we're all in it together.
Well said. I think that we need to learn to dig so deep, Faisal. We need to dig into ourselves and say, what are we learning from this? What are we
That's
taking
crucial.
out from this?
You got that right, Sharissa. And I think that's where I really want you to go. So forget about the first part of my question. Go there. And that is, what are we going to take away from this? Because if we don't take away anything, then we've just wasted our time. What are we going to take away from this?
We need to dig deep. What are we learning? What are my mistakes? Where have I gone? How do I self-reflect and say, sure, I'm learning. I'm a little bit impatient. I'm learning. I'm this. I'm learning. I'm learning. And we need to stop and self-reflect, because if I'm in a frozen mode, I'm so cross, I'm so angry, I can't stop and think, where's my future going? How am I going to earn money? How can I be creative? We've come to frozen minds that we can't even think straight how to recreate our future. So self-reflection is crucial. What am I learning from this? And when this is over, how am I going to be a new human being? What am I taking out of this? Am I going to be different, or am I just going to be the same selfish human being who's in it for themselves, pushing others down, or what? Self-reflection, journal, stop, think, breathe. This has happened for a reason, whatever reason it is, conspiracy not, corruption not. This has happened. How do I deal with it? And how do I come out the best that I am, even though I don't know where the next meal is, even though I don't know how I'm going to pay rent? How can I be bigger? How can I be better? How can I get out of it? Dig inside. We've got the time to do it.
Sharissa, that's some excellent advice. I've got 3 minutes left of the show, and thank you for all the advice you've given us. And the very pertinent one is think deeper, reflect, use this as a time of reflection, perhaps to press the reset button of your life, so that you might, all those things that you wanted to change in your life, probably this is the time to say, I'm able to change the heading a little bit from that. But I want to just touch on you and your mom on a personal level. How's things going during the lockdown? Because your mom's very active. How are you coping? Because I know you to be someone that has so much energy, so I don't know how you're containing that all inside your house. How's things been going with you?
It hasn't been easy, and I've been open about it. It hasn't been easy. As mom's 86, I've suddenly become the mother. I've got to look after her. I've got to feed her. I do her washing.
Hey, but she's quite active, though.
She's so active. She gets up 5:30 in the morning. She wants to exercise. She says her prayers. She puts the light on. She lets the cats out. They go missing. I run around it's a lot of patience, and it's 40 days. I never knew I'd have to be a mother, and it's taking a lot. Because I'm doing recordings, I'm trying to support everybody, I'm writing a book, I have 20 exams to do. I don't know where my future's going, I'm also redoing it. It's a lot. But I'm not complaining, because you've inspired me, and I am blessed to have mom. I must just learn some patience.
Of course, you only realize when they're gone. And that, even through the lockdown, I think it's something that will reverse itself down the line, and over time it will be gone. But there are some things in life that we cannot reverse. And for example, like the loss of my mother and death. And sometimes those things, I think you reflect on those things, where if you look at those situations and you look at what you have been through, and many people have been through, then there's only one piece of advice from my side, and that is to exercise patience. And what more can you do? There's only so much you have control of, Sharissa. After that, you don't have control.
You're an inspiration, and I know that our mothers have met you. You're an absolute inspiration to me, Faisal, to realize we are mortal. No one's going to get out of this life alive anyway. And mom's 86. It's a wake-up call. You are my inspiration about that. So
thank you for that.
Thank you for being vulnerable.
And thank you for being an inspiring beacon of light when it comes to integrity for many other people. Sharissa, we've reached the end of the show. I look forward to having you on another episode, and where we can perhaps discuss some more dynamics around any psychological matters that might come up during this period.
That would be wonderful. I'm honored to do that. Thank you so much for having me, Faraz.
Celebrity psychologist Sharissa Bloomberg, and we're talking integrity lapses, and how to deal with that. One pertinent piece of advice that Sharissa has given us, and that is that this is a time to reflect. And if you're not going to do that, then you're perhaps just wasting this time that you had time to press the reset button.